Guten Morgen.
Good morning.
Darf Sie bitten, Platz zu nehmen?
If you'd be so kind as to take your seats.
Ich glaube, die brauche ich jetzt nicht. Hör mal, wenn der Kommissionspräsident jetzt alle geküsst hat, dann können wir beginnen. Meine sehr geehrten Damen und Herren, ich darf Sie bitten, Platz zu nehmen. Die Sitzung ist
Ladies
eröffnet.
and gentlemen, I should like to call the sitting to order and invite you all to take your seats.
Dear colleagues, ich darf Sie noch einmal bitten, Ihre Plätze einzunehmen.
So
Herr
once
Böge.
again, if I could invite you all please to take your seats. Mr. Berger.
Sagenhaft. Bitte nehmen Sie Platz, meine Damen und Herren. Sie haben ja
Please now take your seats, ladies and gentlemen.
Ihre zugewiesenen Sitze. Schönen Dank.
You've got your allocated seats, so we're very
Vielleicht könnte auch die
grateful
grüne
you would now
Fraktion
sit in them.
ihre
Perhaps even the
Fraktionssitzung beenden.
Green Group could now call its meeting to a close.
Merci beaucoup. Monsieur Beauvais,
Thank you very much, Mr.
asseyez-vous.
Beauvais.
Merci beaucoup.
Yes,
Très
please
bien.
sit down, Mr.
Le groupe,
Beauvais.
réunion
Very
du groupe
good.
est terminée.
Thank
Merci
you. Your
beaucoup.
group meeting is now over. Thank you very much.
Vielen Dank, meine Damen und Herren. Ich eröffne die Sitzung.
Thank you very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen.
Als erster Punkt der Tagesordnung folgt die Erklärung des Präsidenten der Kommission, Paket der Kommission für Beschäftigung, Wachstum und Investitionen. Das Wort hat Herr Kommissionspräsident Juncker.
The Commission President, Mr. Juncker, has the floor.
Mr. President, colleagues, honourable members of the Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, I addressed this House just over a month ago, and I promised to present an ambitious investment plan before Christmas. 1 month later, and Christmas has come early, I am here to deliver on my promise. I'm doing it here, at the European Parliament, because this is the institutional place where important events have to happen. Today, Europe is turning a page. After years of fighting to restore our fiscal credibility and to promote reform, today we are adding the third point of a virtuous circle, an ambitious yet realistic investment plan for Europe. Europe needs a kickstart, and today the Commission is applying the jump cables. Investing in Europe, it means much more than figures, projects, money, rules. It's about people, mainly about those amongst our citizens who are unemployed. We need to send a message to the people of Europe and to the rest of the world. Europe is back in business. This is not the moment to look back. Investment is about the future. Of course, we should never neglect the sacrifices that many in Europe made over the past 6 years to overcome the crisis, nor should we stop the push to bring down barriers, open up markets and reform what doesn't work in our economies. These are necessary, but not sufficient conditions for growth. Yes, we need structural reforms to modernise and preserve our social market economy. Yes, we need fiscal responsibility to restore confidence and the sustainability of our public finances. And to complete this virtuous omne trium perfectum, we now need to boost investment. No tree can grow on soil and air alone. The investment plan we are presenting today is the watering can. For the first time, the European Commission is presenting all three components of Europe's future economic success together, not pitched one against the other, but grouped in one single, simple message, namely that Europe can offer hope both to its future generations and to the rest of the world as a promising, attractive hub for jobs, growth and investment. Why are we doing this? First, because not only are we faced with a serious investment gap, we are caught in an investment trap. When we talk to investors, they all agree that Europe is an attractive place to invest in. But when I look at the figures, they tell a totally different story. Investment levels in the European Union are down to 370 billion below the historical pre-crisis norms. While investment is taking off in the US, Europe is lagging behind. Why? Because investors lack confidence, credibility and trust. Secondly, because we are confronted with a major paradox. Despite the huge liquidity in the world's money markets and corporate bank accounts, investment in Europe is not rebounding. And thirdly, because our public resources are stretched. Our debt levels have increased from 60% of our GDP to 90% in the space of just a few years. Public expenditure already represents close to 50% of the European Union's GDP. What we need is a smart use of public money geared to unlocking investment. Public expenditure should be used for what it's best at doing, funding our schools and welfare systems, not servicing our debt. Today, we are responding to these European pathologies and keeping our eye on the one ball that matters, the real economy. This is not the time for national, political or ideological fights. It is the time for a major political and social consensus, a grand bargain to put Europe back to work. I often hear that we need so-called fresh money. But what I believe we really need is a fresh start and fresh investment. Others say we need more debt. We don't. National budgets are already stretched. The European Union operates on balanced budgets, and the abundant liquidity can allow Europe to grow without creating new debt. We will not betray our children and grandchildren and write more cheques that they will ultimately have to pay off. We will not betray the rules of the Stability and Growth Pact that we have agreed jointly. This is a matter of credibility. However, if Member States chip in capital to the fund, we will not take these contributions into account in our assessments under the Stability Pact. What we are going to do is to set up the right system that will use available public money to leverage additional capital that would never otherwise been mobilised. Every public euro mobilised can generate additional investment that would not have happened otherwise, and it can create jobs. We will need to look carefully at projects. Destinations for the fresh investments drive should be attractive, free of regulatory burdens and linked to economic reality, not political expedience. Let me be clear about one thing. The money we are putting forward today comes on top of what already exists. It comes on top of the 630 billion that is about to be unlocked from the structural and investment funds at national and regional level. It comes on top of what the European Investment Bank has already been able to do so far. After the capital increase of 10 billion, the European Investment Bank was shipping 180 billion to the real economy. It comes on top of all the existing programs which are already investing in infrastructure, innovation and European small and medium-sized enterprises. Perhaps most importantly, it comes on top of what member states can do to help themselves. For member states must also support the investment environment through a better use of public money and a greater commitment to structural reforms. Let me explain what is my vision for where this money should go. I have a vision of school children in Thessaloniki walking into a brand new classroom decked out with computers. I have a vision of European hospitals saving lives with state-of-the-art medical equipment. I have a vision of a French commuter being able to charge his electric car along the motorway in the same way we fill up on petrol today. Households, companies want to benefit from technological progress and are crying out for action to become more energy efficient. Our energy sector needs to interconnect networks and markets, integrate renewable sources of energy and diversify our sources of supply. Our transport sector has to modernize its infrastructure, reduce congestion and improve trade connections. Our environment needs better waste recycling and water treatment facilities. We need far-reaching and faster broadband and smarter data centers across Europe. And we need to invest in our education and innovation systems that are often underfunded and less equipped than those of our key competitors. Investing in people, that is what the social market economy is about. The needs we are facing are vast. This is the challenge of a generation. Europe will have to face it head-on. How is this going to work? Money will not fall from the sky. We don't have a money printing machine. We will have to attract money and make it work for us. Today, we are setting up a new architecture that will make this possible. The key is to provide a risk-bearing capacity that can unlock additional investment. Our plan is built on three main pillars. First, we are creating a new European Fund for Strategic Investments, guaranteed with public money from the EU budget and the European Investment Bank. The fund will be able to mobilise 315 billion over the next 3 years. And yet, some say this is not enough. I have to remind you that this is the greatest effort in recent EU history to mobilise the EU budget to trigger additional investment and without changing the rules. I know some of you are worried about the impact on the research and infrastructure allocations. You fear that redirecting money from the Horizon 2020 and Connecting Europe budget lines will mean that money is lost. But this is not the case. Every euro from these programmes paid into the fund creates 15 euros for those very same research and infrastructure projects. We are not just moving money around, we are maximising its input. If member states step up to the plate and contribute to the fund, then the knock-on effect of this significant amount will even be bigger. Herr Präsident, meine sehr verehrten Damen und Herren,
ladies and
die
gentlemen,
zweite Komponente
the
unseres
second
Programms ist
plank
folgende.
of our package is as follows. We are going to create a credible project pipeline flanked by an investment package to promote investment in European projects. Now, this is, of course, not the job of politicians. We don't select the projects. We should be modest in that regard, because that is the responsibility of specialists who have the necessary experience and the requisite know-how. The fund will have an investment committee made up of experts to assist it, make sure that they assess the socio-economic benefit and added value to the European Union. The third component of the package is an ambitious roadmap by means of which we want to make Europe more attractive for investors. This is absolutely essential. Therefore, we are going to cut red tape and make sure that we cut the regulatory burden. And this does not only apply at the financial level, rather, above all, this is all about setting the right parameters at the regulatory level. In recent years, the European Investment Bank has done a sterling job, and I am delighted that they will be the prime mover in this new investment program, and I'm very pleased indeed that they are involved. Now, this is a AAA bank that is not frightened of taking risks, and I believe that it can be deployed to benefit Europe more effectively, because without the European Investment Bank, it would not be possible for us to have any such investment program. And I should like to thank the President of the bank, Werner Hoyer, most warmly for the exemplary way in which he has cooperated with us over the last few weeks or even months. I mean, this Commission has only been in office for a matter of weeks, but the reason we are able to present this investment package to you today is because Werner Hoyer and myself had a comprehensive exchange of views on the subject back in July already, and I'm sure that the President of the Parliament will be able to confirm all of that. So there are a number of important things that we need to now make a start on, because after all, we are just at the beginning of this whole process. And of course, what we're trying to do is to boost growth in Europe. Member states ought to make their contribution to the fund in order to boost its efficiency. Member states, too, are duty-bound to do what they can to stimulate growth in the European Union, because every euro made available to this fund can generate 15 euros of investment. And in return, I promise you that when we look at member states' budgets, we will not calculate any contributions made to that fund when looking at compliance with stability and growth criteria. We obviously will not be able to predict exactly how much will flow back to each country, but what you should remember is that more growth in France is good for growth in Italy. More growth in southern Europe can only be beneficial for growth in Germany. I think that people should realize once and for all that our fates are all bound up with one another, and that is why we should stand shoulder to shoulder in solidarity with one another. We have 315 billion euro, but this is not an upper level, because if the fund works, and I am certain that it will, then I believe we should go beyond that 315 billion. And the European Parliament and the European Council should throw their weight behind the investment package, behind its goals and objectives, and also behind rolling out this fund, because we need a Europe of those who are willing to invest.
President, honourable members, I am counting on your commitment to adopt the necessary legislation so that we can implement this fund. I would invite my colleagues at the Council to do the same. We need to be operational by June next year so that we will be able to get the necessary results. The European Parliament is an essential partner to help Europe renew growth. The Commission, we are responsible to you, and the high-level representatives of this new fund will be accounting to you on the activities of the fund, and the